Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
Transfer market grades. We'll go through just the big clubs. So we'll give a grade. I don't know how they grade you at school in Sweden. They do like A, B, C, D.
No. We do the Italian 1 to 10. That's what we do.
Right.
It's the Italian Football Podcast. Never mind Sweden. Never mind England. It's 1 to 10.
Okay. And what 1 is?
Crap. 10 is the best.
And 10 is the best.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. 1 to 10 then. Milan.
I give Milan a 6.5, 7. I think they spent. I say, you know what, 6.5, because I don't think they addressed the right wing situation. They did. De Ketelaere is a great player. He's young. It's typical. They follow their mold. But yeah, for me, 6.5, because I don't think Junior Messias, unless they can find a way to fit Brahim Diaz and De Ketelaere together on that right wing, at which point, hats off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd go with that. I would go 6.5, because I think apart from the attacking midfield position, I don't really see them as having strengthened any areas of the pitch or any positions. To be honest with you, I think if anything, their central midfield is maybe a little bit weaker because they lost Kessié. But then again, with Milan, you don't know. It always depends on the youngsters that they bring, how they develop, Yeah. And so there's always a possibility that they could suddenly surprise. But yeah, I would go 6.5. They didn't lose any other players, so they kept their other big guns. Inter.
Well, this is a difficult one because of what happened with Dybala and Bremer, but I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to look at objectively. Correa was on this year's financial statement. Lukaku on a loan. Aslani, Belanova, Mkhitaryan, Onana, Acerbi are all better than the players they replaced. Every single one. They slashed the wage bill by 20-25%. They cashed in on players that they sold. I mean, Gravilon, Di Gregorio, Casadei, Pinamonti will bring them around 40-45 million euros. So between 35, 40, 45 million euros. So, and these are players that were completely, peripheral. And not irrelevant to Inter's project. So I have to give them a 7. They got Lukaku, who Inzaghi wanted. They finally got Acerbi, who he wanted. Aslani and Mkhitaryan are better than Vecino and Vidal. Belanova as a right back, young, understudy to Dumfries, and Di Marco and Gosens on the left. With Darmian helping out. Onana is better than Radu. I mean, for me, it's just improvement. They didn't improve their starting lineup dramatically, but I think they improved. And yeah, 7.
Yeah. I would go 7.5, because I think they improved their starting. On paper, 7.5. On paper doesn't always necessarily translate, because 7.5, because they improved their first team, they improved their squad. Also, for all the reasons, the financial reasons, they like I said, they slashed their wage bill, and Marotta did some great deals in selling some of the younger players and squad players and making money on them, and also not losing any of their big stars, not losing Skriniar or Barella or Lautaro. The only negative really is they lost Perisic, who he's 33. They were going to have to replace him at some point. They probably have downgraded, and they've lost a player that's able to beat a man, which is so important. So I think they will lose something there in the bigger games anyway. But yeah, I think they've done really well. The only doubts is if and this is where on paper it's not always how it is on the pitch. If Lukaku ends up not being the same player that he was 2 years ago, and he hasn't been great in the first games of the season, then you could look at this completely different in terms of are Inter as strong as they were, but time will tell on that one. Juventus.
No, I have a 7 for Juve. I think, Bremer is an outstanding signing. Kostic is good. I like that they bought Andrea Cambiasso and sent him on loan. I think Milik is good as a backup. Di Maria will do well. Pogba is in terms of free transfer with the injuries and whatnot. But no, I look at the players they brought in. I think they they have improved. And I look at the players they sold: Demiral, De Ligt, Mandragora, and they will have a net transfer spend of 5 million euros, which is good, and they've slashed their wage bill. I think 7.5 even.
I would go 6 from a sporting point of view, but I would maybe upgrade it to 6.5 because of the financial side. Because I think from a financial point of view, they did cut the wages. They did, have a reasonably, if not a positive balance, then they haven't spent much this summer. When you look at the money that they've made, say off De Ligt. But if you actually break it down, department by department, is the defence any stronger than it was last year? Well, Bremer's come in, and I think that Bremer was a fantastic deal for Juventus because they've basically made a profit on De Ligt for a player who, in my opinion, could go on to be better than De Ligt. Certainly better than what De Ligt showed for Juventus, anyway. But that's a like for like change. That is. That's. I
think it's an improvement.
It's Bremer's replacing Juventus' best De Ligt was Juventus' best defender last season. Bremer is replacing someone who was already the best defender. They haven't improved any other positions. They desperately needed fullbacks. Desperately, they haven't got any fullbacks. So that's huge. I still think there are players short at centre back as well. Bonucci's so many injuries for Bonucci. You can't be playing Rugani. We'll see how good Gatti becomes. So, is the defence any stronger than it was last year? If it is, it's only because Bremer is better than De Ligt in a position that was already their best position. So I don't think they've really strengthened defence as a whole. The midfield, Pogba, of course. Pogba, if he's fit, if he stays fit, but there's big question marks over that because he's got a chronic meniscus injury. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But if he is fit, then obviously the midfield is much stronger. We also hope that Moretti, but he's 18 years old, 19 years old. We don't know, how well he's going to be able to do over a long period this season. So I think the midfield potentially is stronger. And as for the attack, I don't think as a whole I don't think there's more goals in the attack this season.
I think there was last season. When Di Maria is injury free, when Chiesa comes back, Milik, look, as a backup instead of Morata. No,
they've only got 2 centre forwards.
Well,
Vlahovic and Milik.
How many do you want them to have when they play a 4-3-3 with a single number 9 up front? I mean, to me, it's not. I have no problem with it. I think Kostic has shown really encouraging signs. And again,
not for Juventus so far. He's been awful in his first 2 games, but hopefully he will be a good signing.
No, I think he's been all right. Takes some time, but I mean, he's not really played in a 4-3-3 before. So I don't think he's been dreadful. I think it's going to take some time. But look, no, I think Juve have improved. I think Juve, this is year 1 in the Allegri project, and I think the signing...
Well, every year is year 1
No,
for you.
it's not. No, listen.
You said it was year 1 last year.
No, I did not. I said it was year 0. Go back and listen.
Right, okay.
0, 1, 2, 3. I mean, we're back in
Okay.
Are we back? No, it's not a spin. It's math. 0 comes before 1, then comes 1, then comes 2. This is
I love how every year 0.
No, it's not every year. It's because you and Gobby fans are so entitled that you think you don't win one.
Next year it's gonna. Oh my god!
No, next year is year 2 if he's here. Year 0.
Next year you'll be saying Allegri's first season was minus 1.
No, that's you.
It was the foundation year minus underneath. Underneath year.
No, year 0 was the foundation year, and they survived that. They finished in the top 4, and they, and this is year 1. And I think these signings reflect that. This is now becoming more a Juve that reflects Allegri, and a Juve that is away from the nonsense of the Galactico era, and this is more becoming a kind of a ruthless.
One shot against Spezia in the first 18 minutes. That doesn't smack of a team has a lot of attacking power. But yeah, anyway, Napoli. No. What do you give Napoli?
I give them a 9. They are the Regina del Mercato.
Listen to the full show and all other episodes by going to patreon.com/TIFP and become a member for only $2.99 per month.